Dispatchers help callers on the worst days of their lives. For over 25 years, we've been there. A silent partner in millions of calls thanks to our redundant and diverse networks that ensure call delivery. Today, cities are bigger, traffic more congested, and the challenge is more complex. But you're never alone, because InDigital is quietly improving, implementing, and driving the next generation of 911, so you're supported in every situation. Make the switch at indigital.net.
Have you ever met a 911 professional and asked, what's the worst call you've ever taken? Well, here's your answer. I heard your last breath the night you flipped your four-wheeler. I tried to call you the day you committed suicide by driving your car into a tree. Blue face, cold to the touch. I helped you with CPR after you found your infant face down, not breathing. It messed me up. I did everything I could, but it wasn't enough. You were with me from the beginning, Grandma. 27 years later, I took the 911 call when you died. How fitting to be there for me in the beginning, and I was there for you in the end. I miss you, Grandma. I am 911. This is but a glimpse into the world of emergency dispatch. But what is it really like to answer a call during someone's nightmare? What is the impact on the first responder answering the call? Available on Amazon or where you purchase your favorite books and ebooks. Imagine listening. Your worst day is our everyday.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
The call that sticks with me was a Valley View call of rival motorcycle gangs. Hells Angels and Mongols, I believe, was the name of the gangs. And one of the gangs walked up to another rival gang member and shot him in the head. We got that call as an alarm drop, a panic button from the gas station itself. And then the second call, which is only 2 calls on it, the second call I took. I was a brand new supervisor. I was on night shift. And the woman that I spoke to was obviously in shock. And we got a little bit of information that one guy had shot the other guy, trying to get a description. And then that was the end of the call.
Welcome to Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them.
Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and this is going to be Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them. This episode is sponsored by InDigital, a leader in next-gen core services, and a big shout-out, as always, to subscribers of the podcast. Thank you for everything very, very much. I wouldn't be able to do what I do if it wasn't for all of you, but especially all of you who are watching, listening, supporting, sharing. Thank you so very much. I have been out here in Ohio this week. We've been having a lot of fun. I taught a couple classes. We're recording a couple episodes today. And I believe I'm also going to be able to get a tour here in a little while of Chagrin Valley Dispatch. So it is awesome out here. Also, this is a huge complex. Probably talk about this on open mic later because I learned some things and it might be haunted around here. And I might ask you that as well. So I'm here with my guest and I'm excited to have you on. My guest today is Karla, and she is the center manager with Chagrin Valley 911 Dispatch out of Ohio. How's it going?
It's great. It's a good day so far.
All right, excellent. I know it's a little gloomy, a little foggy outside, but it kind of fits with this area that we're in. Yep. So for those who are watching and listening, since I kind of brought it up, what is this complex all about? There's like buildings all over the place, and they look like they've been here for a very long time.
Yeah, I guess it was a home for troubled girls, and this building specifically is supposed to be haunted. Take a tour. It's interesting. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So that might be why when I was talking to Jen earlier, My gimbal over there just fell over.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know for sure if that's what it is. Please, but it just started dinging, and then it went over, and I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well,
Yeah.
we're gonna continue. I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on. Like the battery was full, and then it just died.
Yeah.
So not sure what's going on, but that's very interesting
Mm-hmm.
because Nick was in here earlier. He was telling me about that, and just a quick blurb on it. I said, I've seen documentaries about stuff like that, and,
Mm-hmm.
and it looks like this.
Yeah.
So very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, again, I am happy to be here, and I'm happy as well. And I want to learn a little more about you. So,
Mm-hmm.
how did you get involved in public safety to begin with? Do you come from a family with a background of public safety, or did you just kind of jump in?
I just jumped in. It was kind of an accident. I fell into it. I was a hairdresser, minding my own business, going to beauty school, working at a salon. And my husband's cousin was becoming a police officer. And he said, Karla, you really should do it. I feel like you should do it. And I'm like, I'm kind of like a creative person. I like to get, my hands into stuff and create stuff and be in the beauty industry. That was my goal. That's what I wanted to do. And he's like, no, I'm telling you, you have to. And all he gave me was a list of benefits. And that's really why I fell into it. He was like, look at all the benefits of this kind of a job, and you can retire from this. And I had a high school diploma and a beauty school license. Like that's so.
Before we started recording, I just want to mention this really quick, just because it's kind of relatable. But in class, I talk about team building, and I show one of the things that we had to do, and one of the things were pictures that we had of us as babies, toddler, elementary school, whichever, and we had to write on a piece of paper something that nobody knew, and we had to match them up.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. But in the picture, I've got like this crazy buzz cut, and so does my younger brother. And I tell everybody, let me explain this picture really quick, because my mom has been cutting hair since I was born.
Yeah.
And every time she learned new hairstyle, we were the guinea pigs.
Yeah,
and there's
absolutely.
a picture out there that I didn't show in class. And I told them, I'm not going to show you this. But when my mom was learning how to do perms, there's a picture of me as a kid with the rollers and everything.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's what I was doing.
I was going to say, you coming from that field as well, coming into 911 though, but before that, you also testing on other people, like different hairstyles?
100%. I'm one of 5 siblings. I have all sisters. And my older sister was also in beauty school, so we just did each other's hair. And sometimes you left without hair. Or you came out with orange hair or blue hair or yeah.
That is amazing. So you go from that complete opposite.
Yeah.
Did you have any experience or any thoughts? Like for me, the only experience I had going in, I started in 2000, was Rescue 911 with William Shatner. That's all I had.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of going in green. So you pretty much the same.
Yeah, pretty much the same. Like I didn't have any background whatsoever. I had no idea, but I knew I was super critical of myself. So no matter what was going to be on the other side of that door, like I was going to kill it or I wasn't going to do it at all.
Yeah.
And I wanted to impress the people around me. I went to the department that my husband's cousin was at. So it's like I couldn't let him down, so I had to kind of put myself up and up and up all the time to do good, because otherwise I was going to tarnish his name and that wouldn't be good. Like I had to impress.
Yeah.
And I was curious. I heard what was going on in the room. There was a female detective who had red hair, and they called her Big Red, and she was a tiny little woman, and she was terrifying. But she ended up being one of my greatest allies in my career. And
that's good then.
Yeah,
there was a good ending.
She's incredible. Still to this day, she's somebody that is very valuable. Even in the back of my mind, if I don't see her or talk to her, she's somebody that set the bar high to be the best. No negotiation. So when I walked in, she had Polaroid pictures of a crime scene. I, of course, got curious about it much later on and asked about it much later on, but it was a homicide of a young boy, and it was all over the desk when I walked in, so I was curious, and I was like, what is... and I saw the woman that was working really, really stiff department where it was very paramilitary. Uniforms were crisscross ties, skirts, blouses, jackets. And I was watching her and I was like, oh my gosh, like I could hear tones dropping and codes and signals, and like it ignited me. It was like, this is so interesting. I'm so curious about all of it, and I want to be part of all of it.
Yeah.
So when I first came in, I really didn't know much other than the TV show. And I didn't really think much about the responders. I didn't really think much about police or fire. I thought more about like the people that were in that room with me. So it's like, what is she doing, or what can I help her with, or what can I get involved with over here? So that was kind of what I went in with. It's just a young, curious need to do it.
Yeah. Oh man. Okay, so did you get to do a sit along at all or anything like that? Or
No.
So your first day was the first time you're seeing everything.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So let's stick with that point right
Mhm.
there. You're walking in.
Yep.
What do you see? Is it multiple monitors? Is it multiple people, multiple
Yep.
keyboards? But also, what are you feeling at that time as well?
Definitely a level of fear. I was kind of afraid of it. Like I can give you a nice highlight and a pretty manicure, but like, can I actually like save somebody, or can I like actually process crime scene stuff? Like,
Yeah.
can I actually do any of this stuff? So when I first walked in, there was a big process to get in, and a big process for me to even be at that door. So they talked to everybody in my apartment complex. They knocked on every door. I don't even know the guy that lives across the street from my hallway, but they talked to everybody. They went to my high school. They got my transcripts, and I went to school over an hour away from here. So drug test, physical test, psychological, lie detector, like every. So I felt like I was going to be like an FBI agent or something. Like I felt like I was like, oh my gosh, like there's so much involved in this, fingerprinting and background checks. So I felt like if I made it to that point and I actually made it to that door, that there was something that they saw amongst the other 20 men and women that were in the lobby with me a year prior to this that were also applying. So once I finally made it into that room, there was an older lady. Her name was Nancy, and she was very stiff and very paramilitary, but a good teacher. Like, even though she wasn't warm and fuzzy and she was not inviting at all, like, she made sure that I knew how to get everything done and no fluff. So, like, I didn't connect with anybody right away. And the lieutenant was the same way. I heard that.
I know. That's why I looked. I was like, did something just break over there?
I don't know what that was, but I heard it too. So the lieutenant, she was very scary and stiff, and expectation and standard was so high. So I was afraid of her too. So there was like this level of fear that was like, oh my gosh, I'm just a young woman. Like, I had crazy haircut and I had, art on my nails, and I wore heels on my first day, big mistake. So I wasn't a part of the culture. Like, I didn't feel like I fit into the culture at all. So the next time I came in, I wore flat shoes. I didn't put a lot of makeup on. I put my hair in a bun so that I could feel like I belonged or fit in.
Right, yeah. Just kind of blend in or mimic the environment that you're in. Yeah,
exactly. Mm-hmm. And so there was so much hustle and bustle going on. There was a lot of community work that they were doing. There was officers going in and out that were doing what is called a pancake breakfast on Buzzard Day. So they celebrate vultures.
What?
In this community. Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So they were doing the pancake breakfast or whatever. And there was just so much movement, and it was exciting. It was exhilarating. It was like, I just want to jump into the deep end. Like, no pinky toe in this pond. Like, I just want to jump in.
Wow.
Yeah.
You take me back a little bit when I first started dispatching. It was at a single seat PD.
Yep.
And when I got there, I was I was. What was that?
I don't know. I thought that was your stuff.
No. So we're gonna check that now. That's the Avaya phone that just turned on, I think. Yeah, no, we're still recording. We're still good to go.
Okay. I mean, maybe it lost power and is rebooting.
That
It says
could be.
registering.
I don't know what's going on right
Yeah.
now.
It's fine.
Oh, this is awesome. This is awesome. So it reminds me of when I first got in there, because I was kind of, and I say this only for me because this is what the chief told me. I was like, I've got ink, right? And I had my ears gauged at one time. And I had gone to get them gauged again. And after I had done that, I remember walking in and the chief was just kind of looking at me. You know, because I'm front facing with people that just walk in and make complaints, maybe I should have asked except because there's nothing in the policy. So I'm curious now. And he goes, what else are you thinking of getting? And I said, I was thinking of getting like my labrae done and my tongue and stuff. And he goes, you know what? I'm sure it's just a phase. So go ahead, do what you're going to do. And I was like, all right. So like I had my hair, you know, spiked up pretty much the way it is now, but it was always a different color.
Yeah.
And, and because my mom was a hairstylist, I could get it done whenever.
Yeah.
And I got the labrae done. I got my tongue done and stuff. And I went in, and he would just laugh when I would walk in. He goes, it'll be all right. It's just a thing. And yeah, it actually only lasted a few months because, and it wasn't because of anything there. No one ever said anything. It was because it was Mother's Day, and I took everything out.
Yeah.
And because my mom's like, come to church with me, it's Mother's Day. I'm like, okay, I'll go with you. I'm like, all right, cool. So I take everything out, and then I let it go like another couple days.
Never went back in.
Yep,
yeah.
never went back in. Now, this one right here, though, actually got ripped out of my eyebrow from a hairstylist. It was the manager of the place, actually. She was combing my hair forward, and I said to her, I just got this done about a week ago. Please be careful when you're combing forward. She's like, oh, don't worry. She goes, it's fine. And when she went forward, it got caught in the comb. She did it 3 times, and finally it was just, and it was hanging. And I still paid.
Yeah.
I still paid. I even gave her a tip, and I left, which a lot of people were like, why did you do that? I said, my mom was a hairstylist. She told me, you don't make a lot of money, and to always remember to tip, no matter what.
Yeah.
Even though I was
lost a part of your face.
much pain, yes. But I also had my 4-month-old son with me in the car seat, passed out. And I remember I was like, I'm not going to pay for this. And she's like, well, I'm going to call the police. And I said, okay, here's your money. Here's a tip as well. But the tip especially, because I remember what my mom was saying.
Yeah.
So I do have this question, though, because you were always talking with cut hair or style or whichever. Do you feel like maybe a little bit of that, maybe just a little bit of that conversation type that you would do? Do you feel like that kind of prepared you a little bit in 100%. A way for what you were doing in dispatch?
Yeah, and multitasking too. Like being able to like grab you a cup of coffee while your highlight is processing, but also be able to time it right with this person's shampoo or blowout and then come back without your hair falling off. And you know, like keeping busy and timing and like prioritizing and multitasking. And one of the big things that stuck out was being organized, like actually like staying and being organized. And that definitely helped me. Gift of gab helped me. Just the other day, one of the trainees kind of laughed at me because I work the desk full time. So I'm in the pods and I work the channels and rotate just like everybody else. And one of the trainees laughed at me because she's silent monitoring, which means like she can quietly on mute, listen to any phone call in the room that she wants to. She says, well, it's funny when you take phone calls. It's like the stuff you say when you take phone calls. It's like it's always interesting. And so she was listening to one of my calls. I hadn't noticed yet. And the guy said, I said, police and fire dispatch. And the guy said to me, Listen, I know this is going to sound super crazy. I know this is going to be unbelievable. Like, I'm going to try to do my best to explain it. And he hadn't gotten anything out. Just this preface was still going on.
Right.
And he's like, no, I'm telling you, you're just not going to believe me. And I sat back in my chair and I'm like, go ahead, sir, try me. And she was like, did you just say that to somebody? Like, did you just say that to somebody? And I'm like, clearly he's anxious about what's going to come next.
Right,
So, like,
yeah.
if I just come down and chill with them and I have a normal conversation with them, it's like, no, really, try me. Because nothing that you're going to say is not something that I haven't heard. So
Right.
it's not as crazy as you think it is, because I could picture him coming up with the script before he dialed the phone number. Like, he's like, I'm going to call and I'm going to say this, but she's probably going to think I'm crazy. So,
Right.
So I think, like, just the gift of gab, just being able to talk to people or, like, level with people or match energies with people, like, that was something that definitely helped. For sure.
That is awesome. Yeah, I feel the same way. I was in retail management. I managed 2 different stores by the time I was 19.
Yeah.
And dealing with people, having that gift of gab, right? And also wordsmithing certain things when angry customers are coming in or whatever.
Yeah.
That definitely helped. It translated over to when I was in 911. You've got the same thing. Not face to face, but it's the same elements, the same foundation of, like you said, being on.
Yeah.
Because it also makes them feel more comfortable. I mean, you
Definitely.
can feel that vibe over the phone.
For sure.
And if it's, when someone calls in, if they just hear that twinge or tone or whatever, it's like that could make their anxiety go up more, and it just makes it harder for them to answer questions.
Yeah.
How crazy is it that you have that much power in your voice?
Yeah, definitely. And fibs. You can, like, I learned that, like, okay, like, I'm going to color your hair, Ricardo. Like, what do you have on your hair, or what have you done before this? And you're going to say, oh, nothing. My hair is natural. Okay, so I'm going to go mix up something that would apply to natural hair, and then your hair is going to turn a crazy color. You're like,
Right.
well, 6 years ago, I put a box dye on it, and it's like, you start to be able to, like, hear that in the voice, and, like, you start to be able to hear the fibs and stuff. So, and usually it's right most of the time. I'm not saying all of the time, but most of the time you can sense that or feel that, you know, when it's not truthful.
Yeah. You've got more than juices and berries in your hair.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
so
There's more
it's
than
not
Kool-Aid.
natural.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yes, exactly. So you mentioned before we started recording that you were at a couple smaller agencies. So this first smaller agency that you go into, how many people are working at a time on the floor? And I guess kind of the area, how big is the area?
Yeah.
Is it also 8 or 12-hour shifts?
So it's 8-hour shifts. It's not a full-time agency. So it's a single chair. And at the time, there was only one full-time dispatcher there. And when she was off duty, she would hit this magical button and it would go over to a bigger city that was adjacent to the township. And they would field everything for them when she went home. So they were trying to bring in more consistency in their own people. 27 square miles, one patrolman for all of 20. Gigantic area, mostly rural, and one shared. So me and another girl who worked at Hula Hands at a restaurant got hired together, and her family was immigrants from Korea. So her and I walked in together at the same time, having never met before. And she was a server, and I was a hairdresser. We walked in together, and we were like...
What a combination.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you'd be... Believe it or not, though, I have been with directors at, like, dinners during a conference. And the server will come up. And there have been a few who have not had to write down anything, and they're just like multitasking like crazy, coming back, checking and checking, and by the end of it, they have got a card. They give them a card, like, you would be awesome in dispatch. And some of them have gone and been in dispatch all this time.
Yeah.
Interesting thing.
Yeah.
So you're in there, and so I have kind of an oddball question, but when you would have to use the restroom,
Yes.
Because you said that there was just one person, right? So would you flip that switch so it goes to the other city, or do you take the radio with you?
No, you had to call a patrolman back who was terrified of dispatch. He would have to go through 2 different locked doors to get to you. you.
Yeah.
So once he was in dispatch, he would take the phones and the radios from you. And then it was probably 2 hallways and down a flight of stairs before you could get to the bathroom. So there was no way that you could hear it.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, that became quite a thing because there was a homicide when I was there, and the entire department, even those that were at home, all came in. Well, you're not going to leave a homicide scene anytime soon. And I had to go to the bathroom so bad, and they left me there for 9 hours. And it's like, I could not, there was no way that I could abandon dispatch and go to the bathroom.
Here's the bucket.
Yeah. I mean, that was
no.
almost what it came down to. I mean, I mean, what are you gonna do?
Right.
You know. So I did. I took a portable and I turned the phone volume up and I ran as fast as I could and then came right back. But yeah, the bathroom was quite a thing. Yeah.
So the reason I ask is because I always like to compare. It was pretty much the same for me as well.
Mm-hmm.
Being the only person there. Sometimes the officer wouldn't come back, and I would just say, "This is going to sound horrible," but
I gotta go.
Yeah, I would key up, and I would say, frostproof to 108. 108, go ahead. I said, I'll be 10-7 down the hall.
Yeah.
And sometimes the officer would respond with,
Traffic stop.
No. No. Well, that did happen a couple times, but they would respond with, copy that. That should be 10-7 code brown. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I cannot believe you just said that over the radio, because you know that the chief is always listening.
100%.
And I remember going to go use the restroom, and I came back, and the restroom wasn't far from like the lobby and dispatch area.
Yeah.
And I come back, and when I come back, I'm walking, and peripheral, I see someone standing there. I'm like, oh my God. And I turned around, and I'm like, hi, how's it going? I'm Ricardo here in dispatch in Frostproof PD. How long have you been standing there? And the person goes, long enough. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh no, oh gosh.
I'm like, I apologize.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm a person, I swear.
Yes, like, I'm human. That might not have sounded human, but I had a lot of coffee. Anyway.
Yes.
You do what you have to do, especially in
100%.
those one-seater dispatch center PDs, whichever. So you mentioned the homicide and stuff. Do you remember any of the other like earlier calls, or even like when you were first, either when you were training or when you got off training?
Yeah, my very first call, my very first 911 call on my own was a little boy. His name was Benjamin. He was 8. And the babysitter called because he was choking. This call ends up like becoming something that like stuck with me, not just because of my memory or my brain, but this is a call that ended up causing problems or interesting chain of events thereafter. Is this agency was not emergency medical dispatch. It's the early 2000s. Everything that we did for calls of service were on a 5x7 card. So you wrote and kept track of arrival times, on-scene time. And something really, really early in my career, especially in training, is which completely flipped later on in my career, but I was really excited about fire. I thought fire call taking was fun. You never really know, what's going to happen, and sometimes it's super predictable. They're going to call en route. They're going to call to the hospital, but sometimes it's not. And this was one of those calls, and he was choking, and I was CPR and first aid certified on my own accord because I thought it would look pretty on a resume,
right,
you know? So I was not EMD certified for the agency, but I knew at this point that volunteer fire with 27 square miles, the response time is going to be anywhere between 13 to 19 minutes. And I'm thinking he's choking and he's turning colors and the teenager babysitter is freaking out, know?
Right.
So I walked her through directions for Heimlich, and she ended up breaking one of his ribs, and that piece of his rib ended up going into his lung. It turned into a huge thing. And because the agency couldn't really back me because they didn't certify me to do that, I ended up having to basically advocate for myself. Now, nothing came of it.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that's the worst case scenario of something that could ever happen. But also in my mind, a perforated or a damaged lung is much better than not alive. and he's a young boy. So I did what I thought was the best thing to do at that time, and just leaned back on training that didn't come from the agency, and being in the middle of the night, late at night, and thinking, oh my God, poor girl who's freaking out. Like, I can't let her hold this little boy for his last breath. I can't do it. So I didn't even think about the consequences, and I just did it. So nothing became of it. I didn't, end my career on something like that could have easily been a civil suit or whatever. But yeah, that was my first 911 call out of training.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've been saying that for a lot of us, it seems like the first call or calls right out of training, you're getting your ass handed to you.
Yeah.
The way I've been putting it is, if 911 was a gang, you were getting.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
It's sometimes you have to think outside the box. Sometimes you have to do what you have to do for those people, because that's what we're doing there, helping.
Yeah.
And because I guess if you think about it this way, if you hadn't done that and there was an investigation or whatever, and then they find out, oh, you were actually certified for this and this outside of it.
Yeah.
Why didn't you use that? Like, that could possibly be a liability too,
100%.
For not using it. So it could go either way.
Yeah.
And it's such a hard thing. I had a person that I worked with, and this was actually when I worked on the private side of 911. She was a director for a dispatch center years prior. And she was telling me that she would always tell her people that because the dispatch center where she was at, they didn't take them in, transferred to the central dispatch.
Yeah.
And some of them would continue listening. And she would tell them, hang up right away. Not just because we have other calls coming in, but if you're listening to that other person do CPR and they're not doing it right, and you are certified and you don't help, liability.
Yeah. Yeah, and they do that so early in your career. It was right after that they're like, so Wednesday and Thursday, you're going to go to the rec center for liability training. Like they do that really early. And it scares you. It sure does. Like it scares you. But luckily for me, that didn't, ruin my career or stop anything for me. But it could have. And it wasn't until that class that I was like, if I cut Ricardo's, eyebrow ring off my comb, I'm not going to lose my license, But if I do something like this, I could lose my career.
Yeah.
And potentially a future in this field. So.
Right, or worse. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I remember myself actually in Central Dispatch. It was wintertime, and there was a gentleman who was trying to get ahead of the snow that was. And it's like 2 a.m. So he's outside and he's getting ready to plow his driveway, and he turns it on, but it's not moving. There's something stuck in the blades.
Oh no.
So he puts his hand in to remove it, and when he removes it, he hadn't turned it off.
Yeah.
And it started going, and it caught his arm. And he's screaming in the background, and I'm talking to his wife, and I'm immediately telling them, because with our protocols and everything, don't try to pull it out.
Right.
Don't move or anything unless he's in other danger or something that's around. Yeah. Just stay there. We're going to try to get some there as fast as possible. Well, they were on back roads, and the road commission and everybody, they were not going to be plowing there.
Yeah.
Ambulance is taking forever, so we just put it out to see if there's any volunteer, firefighters or EMS or whichever, and there were some. So there were people that responded. But I had to put them on hold to get all of that going. When I came back, they're screaming because they pulled his arm out.
Yeah.
And it cut his arm a little bit. But the next day, when I come into dispatch, my director pulls me into the office. Said, what's going on? They're like, well, do you remember that call you took with the guy in the snowplow? And I said, well, they want to. And because they're saying that you told them to pull the arm out. You listened to the tape, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, yeah, I did. I said, so what happens now? I played it for them, and they said, never mind. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
Yes. I was like, thank you for the lines being recorded.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So you end up going from the one to another center. Mm-hmm. And then eventually you end up here at Chagrin Valley.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of those motivations, I guess? Was it just switching centers, looking for different opportunities, growth maybe?
Yeah.
Or
I was low man for almost a decade there, and there was no movement. When you go to this agency, you stay at this agency.
Yeah.
So in Northeast Ohio, we were all panicking about consolidation, and everybody was afraid of it. Like, everybody was afraid of regional. Everybody was afraid of putting all in one basket. Everybody was afraid of losing seniority, or really not being able to, like, I gave up my kids' first steps for this. I applied for this place.
Yeah.
I haven't been home for Christmas in 4 years for this place. Not for that imaginary place that's happening over there, but
Right.
for this place. Like, I made the sacrifices. I applied here, and this is what matters to me, and this is where I want to be. If I wanted to be somewhere else, I would have just applied somewhere else. So that was kind of like what was swirling around, especially with the smaller suburbs outside of Cleveland. Like, everybody was like thinking that it's going to be something like Chicago or Los Angeles, where we're all going to be this big beehive, and everybody was afraid of it. Like, everybody was terrified of it. So I was trying to keep quiet about it, but I was excited about it. And I wanted to be a part of it, and I wasn't seeing any growth. And I was low man, and even though I was low man and I had been there for almost a decade, like, I'm getting the low man treatment, like, if this person is on maternity leave, then you go into their shift, and then 3 months later, if that person is on sick time and breaks their hip, then you go down there, and like, my life was so inconsistent, and of course it is in this field, but like, some kind of consistency was needed. I was a young mom, and I needed some kind of stable anything.
Yeah.
So I stayed quiet and kept watching Chagrin Valley Dispatch. And I'm like, this is where the cool dispatchers are. So eventually I got brave enough to do it. And I wanted to choose what I did. And if consolidation was coming from my agency, I didn't want to be thrown into the one that they thought was going to be best for me. So there were other regional dispatch centers that were popping up around us, and I wanted to outrun it. I didn't want to be forced into something. I wanted to pick what I wanted. And Chagrin Valley was always like that holy grail of regional dispatch that I'm one day going to make it to, and I did. And nowhere in a million years did I think that they would actually hire me. Like, like, I came from little places, and they were fielding big cities like Euclid and Bedford, and at the time they were bringing on Maple Heights, and these are heavy-hitting cities. So I was like, what are they going to see in a dispatcher that's from, a township or a small suburb, but I got hired. I still don't know how, and I'm not going to ask the question, but so I got hired, and I came here, and I started with the Bedford Center, which is the one that they filmed 911 Crisis Center in, and I started there. And then when the when the Brecksville Center opened up, I transferred over there. And since coming here, I went from a dispatcher, and I don't want to say regular dispatcher because it's not a regular dispatcher.
Right.
But from dispatch to a supervisor of my own platoon to the manager of the whole center from 2018 to today. So it's like I saw the growth and the recognition for what I had been doing for so many years prior to that nobody saw that, like you almost felt like a grunt in a way, so to be acknowledged for the work and the passion for the career in the field, and then be able to actually see growth happen for it, was like, I've arrived. Like, I know I'm home, so coming here was a no-brainer, 100% no-brainer.
So you go from the front line,
Mm-hmm.
you move up to supervisor.
Yeah.
I'll stop there really quick. What was the, motivation to continue to move up? Because it's the same thing like when people come on and they're also trainers. I'll ask them, what was the motivation? Because it's always one of two things. Crap training, and you wanted to change the cycle, break that cycle of the crap training that people deal with for the literal next generation of 911 coming in and help them, or you had great training, and that was your inspiration as well to, again, mold those folks that are coming in. So you are going into the supervisor position. What was that motivation?
It was changing something. So I started off in my brain, I said, I want to help people. I want to help the community. I want to help people. Like that was the words of, why did you do this? Or why did you go there? Like, I want to help people. But it didn't take me but a few years before I was like, I don't not want to help people, but that's not my motivation anymore. The motivation is now the responders. Yeah. Like, I'm motivated by the responders. Like, I want to keep them safe. I want to give them the best information so that they can go in there as vision wide as possible, like to have a 360 view. And I'm the one that's going to do that for them. So it went from wanting to help the community, which still rings true. It's not that I don't want to help the community, but then I wanted to help those responders and I wanted to protect them. And then coming into regional, it flipped once again because the responders, I don't see them, and they mean a great deal to me, of course. That's you know, a servant's heart is a servant's heart. But coming into regional where I didn't have somebody, like I could be like, hey, Ricardo, can you make this copy for me? Or, hey, can you grab that traffic stop while I do CPR over the phone? Like, as soon as I came into regional, my why for everything became the people. And it became the people in this room with me. And I'm spending more time with them in this cement box than I am with my husband or my child or, you know, my siblings or my parents. And I wanted to do it for them. Yeah. Like, I wanted to do more and I wanted to be a part of something bigger because they mattered and nobody else was making them matter and nobody else had made me matter. So if I could put myself in a position to do that, then that's what I was going to do. And it wasn't the same for management. My why was totally different. But going into supervision, I wanted to make a difference to the people around. And I wanted to be that person where it was like in Brecksville where I ended up and where I became a supervisor, they had all lost their jobs in their mind because they applied for independence police. They had spent 15 years in Brecksville and now they're all thrown into this in their mind doing 4 times the work because they have 4 cities at that point or 8 cities at that point. So they're doing 8 times the work. And when they came into it, they didn't want anything to do with it. So I thought if I could put myself in a position that it was like, hey guys, let's do a spelling bee from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. instead of sitting here like a bunch of crab asses tucked into our chairs trying not to look at the other person because they were bitter. And as well as they should be, they felt like they were slighted and maybe their agencies didn't handle it well and maybe their agencies didn't make it feel exciting, and maybe their agencies were just like, you go to bed on Tuesday, you wake up on Wednesday, and you have no job, you know, like maybe that's the way they felt. Yeah. You know, so I saw that as an opportunity to go in there and be a unicorn with glitter and sparkles and kind of like lift it up. Like that's what I wanted to do.
Is that where the bedazzled headsets come from?
Yeah, that's me. Yeah. Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that the bedazzled headsets. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So for those who are watching and listening, if you don't know, Chagrin Valley Dispatch has headsets that are bedazzled. And when I started watching the reality show that came out, we were doing I think it was called like after the crisis or after the night. I forget how we called it, but we were talking about it and just sharing it. And I don't remember who I sent the message out to. Maybe somebody else saw it, and someone made me a headset. That's you.
That's me.
On the episode before this, I was looking at the camera and I said, I cannot remember the name of the person who did it, but thank you very much. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
Here we are. Awesome.
Well, that is a trinket of appreciation because when those Dazzled headsets came out, there were agencies from Australia. There were agencies from all across the country that were like, who has those bedazzled headsets and can I get them? And I did not make one for anybody outside of my organization except for you.
Yes! Yay!
Yeah.
Black and gold.
Yep.
Well, I still have them there. And when I first got them, my daughters immediately went, can we put it on? I was like, be careful. Be careful, it's that's my headset. And I wore it for several of those episodes. And thank you again.
You're welcome. Yeah.
That was awesome. I would have loved to have worked with you as a supervisor, even just you being there as a center manager and everything now with all of it. Like, this is the type of attitude just inspiration and motivation that people are looking for and want to be a part of. I've got a good friend in Michigan. Her center recently, just a couple days ago at the NINA, the 911 Goes to Washington conference, they received an award for like the best center of 2025 or something like that. But it didn't happen overnight. It took a long time, but they built a culture where people want there and they don't want to leave. And listening to you talk and just the way your thought process is, this is what. So thank you.
Yeah. And sometimes it feels like an uphill climb. You're not going to get everybody on board.
Oh, for sure.
And a piece of advice that I got in going into administration came from a dear friend, and I valued his advice so much. So it was like whatever he was going to offer me, I was going to try to absorb, because I went into management because I didn't want to be part of the problem. I wanted to be part of the and I wanted to not complain that, and then just for sake of conversation, I don't know if Ricardo could be my boss, and I'm not going to complain about Ricardo, unless I'm going to try to do something to do better than what I think for the organization. And I thought I was the answer, so I tried to be in management, but the people around you end up being your family. Like these are your family members. And I became manager in April, and in May I was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. And those following years after that, all through chemo, all through radiation, all through surgery, those are the people that took care of me. Those are the people that came to my house and vacuumed. Those are the people that took my kid to practice. Those are the people that fed me. Those are the people that picked me up when I literally fell down. Those were the people that were in my corner. And I couldn't have done anything that I did and likely not have survived if it wasn't for these people. And like your frame of mind and your attitude towards that plays such a big part in your healing and your ability to bounce back. And if I didn't have dispatch, if I didn't have those people in that cement box, things would be so different. And also I'm a manager. Like I just got my position, and I'm trying to, in a way, assert myself and also separate myself, because now I'm administration, and I'm not part of the club, so I have to find a way to divide myself. And that's what I was trying to actively do at the time. But then you realize that there's no better than, there's no higher pedestal for administration.
And that literally right there is where the episode ends. And here's the crazy thing. Like, this was back in February, maybe the last part of February or mid-February, something like that. And it's August 5th today. And obviously, if you're watching the video, things have changed. If you are listening to the audio right now, the reason it stops right at what Karla was saying, administration, is because the camera turned off out of nowhere. I've got Karla back here with me, and we had noticed at the end of when we were finally done, when I went to go look at the camera again, it was off. And I was like, oh no, what recorded? What did we have left? So we ended up getting almost 45 minutes in. We were already at the last like 20 minutes of the episode, and that's what got cut off. Now, Karla, for those who are watching and listening now, which is kind of an abrupt stop to what we were all listening to, what everyone was seeing. Again, we're now here virtually. You're in Ohio, I'm in Indiana. And the building that we were in, if you can just give people an overview of what the place used to be, and also that building potentially that we were in is haunted.
It's 100% absolutely haunted. It was a home for troubled girls, and it's like 100-something years old, and it is absolutely haunted. So I am not surprised that our recording stopped just randomly, because that checks out with that building. It's definitely haunted.
It's really crazy because the episode prior to yours was with Jen, and halfway through the episode, I turn over because I heard like a tone and then boom, and it was the gimbal just turned off by itself.
Mhm.
And you can I cut it out of the episode, but you see the camera go flop and it flops over and it
Yeah,
was like the weirdest shit that was going
yeah.
on. And I thought, okay, well, hopefully nothing happens when Karla comes on. And it seemed like everything was good to go until that last 20 minutes. So as we're jumping in here, just to reiterate a little bit, some of the stuff that you were talking about, you end up ending with, and that's what I was trying to actively do at the time. But when you realize that there's no better than, there's no higher pedestal for administration, where were you going with that? Because obviously that whole thing got cut off. So what was the next part? And for those who are watching and listening, we did listen before we started recording this part to like the last 10 or so minutes of the episode before it stopped. So where were you going with that thought?
There's no greater pedestal in administration than being supported by your people. I mean, it's the holy grail of leadership. For you to go from a dispatcher to a supervisor to the manager of your center and to actually have the support of your people and the people in the room supporting you, I mean, that is hard to come by. I mean, it's not easy. And in administration, especially in first responding and public safety in general, your supervisor is usually somebody that is authoritative, that is, has to enforce the rules. But when you do that and also have the support of your people and love your people and pride in your people, and want their growth, I think that there's no greater honor in leadership in general, across all facets, than to be supported by your people.
I agree because it's especially if you are coming from the chair as well. If you're coming from the front line and working your way up, I mean that is
Yeah.
an honor in itself. But also to have, like you said, to have your people behind you. But at the same time, I can imagine the amount of pressure that that is as well, because you are coming from the front line. So it is perceived, the notion that you know what it's like, which you do. So why aren't you doing certain things? And a lot of times I think there are folks who don't realize that there are way more things going on than just one singular person making the decision, because there's a lot that goes into it. Like I was a supervisor myself. I didn't go up into upper management. I wanted to, but I didn't get the chance, and I ended up leaving dispatch before I had the chance. But just talking to some of my coworkers who were on the front line and went all the way up to the top, I thought, man, that's a lot of pressure as well.
Yeah, it is a lot of pressure, and I think that is rings true of that from the top down. It trickles down. So if your person above you is a positive motivator, then likely the people under, and then the people under, and so on and so on. And there not to be such a stark, crisp division between dispatching, supervising, management, leadership in general is really bringing it all together. I think is something that's important to me too. And transparency and honesty. Like sometimes, you just tell the truth. Like this is something that's, under everybody's skin. If you just tell them the why, even if they don't like it, if they know the why, it's easier for them to understand.
That is very true as well. It's the same thing when you think about our callers
Yeah.
when they're calling in. I found to have the most success with just being real
Mhm.
with my callers. I mean, there's no reason to beat around the bush with certain things. Like like without giving a specific time
Mhm.
frame, because that's a liability and you don't
Yeah.
want to do that. But just by saying to them, and some people might think that I'm being an asshole by saying this to some of these callers, but when they would be yelling at me, just get them here, where are they? there would be times where I would say, in a firm tone, not shitty or anything, but just in a firm tone, that look, the officers are not just waiting around the corner for something to happen by you. Like, they're coming from a couple townships away, so
Yeah.
that they at least know that it's gonna be a little while. Like, I'm not giving you a time frame because that'll get me in trouble
Exactly.
and everybody else. But if I have like a blanket, an overview of where they're coming from, kind of an idea of that distance, it would usually calm the folks down because
Yeah.
they know that I'm giving them information, and that's what they're looking for. They're looking just for some sort of info to know that, yeah, help is on the way. Because I can tell you help is on the way, but s- in a crisis like that, people are probably going to be thinking, yeah, sure, sure.
Mhm. Exactly. And I mean, it helps. Even like people that are like gassed up and about like erratic drivers, and they're like, "I want this guy to have a ticket. He was tailgating me." If you just tell them the honest to God truth, like, "Hey, man, I know you have his license plate, and I do know who he is, but if an officer doesn't observe his violation, what stops him from calling on you and doing the same thing to you, and just grabbing a license plate at the grocery store for a guy that cut him in line, calling the cops and saying this guy tailgated me, send him a ticket." So I tell them the truth. That's the honest to God truth.
Yeah. And the same as we're, talking in comparison to management and everything else. When I would have to take someone into the supervisor room to talk over a call or something like that, I would just be straight up, because I would want someone to be straight up with me. Don't sugarcoat it. If there's something that I did and I need to improve, tell me, because
Yeah.
otherwise I am never going to know. So yeah, no, exactly. Being straight up with people, that's what you have to do. And I know in some places it's not like that. And in those places, that's why people end up leaving, because whether it be crappy management or just a toxic environment in general where no one is really doing anything and they're just like, "Oh, it's out of my hands."
Yeah.
It happens and it sucks, but I think conversations like this are so important so that people can hear this and compare it and want, or at least to try to change things, because it's not always I know it, a lot of it is from the top down, but it's not always that way, because some people have said to me, like, how do we get our higher ups to look at this, because they don't really care, and or at least it seems like they don't really care. And I've told them there's a lot of power in the front line.
Yeah.
Just for example, just a certain technology or whatever, there's surrounding agencies that are using it, but you guys aren't using it yet, or whichever. And you've got a couple people who ended up going to state conference, national conference, or whatever, and looking at that technology, and you start doing the research. If the whole front line is like pushing for it,
Hmm.
that is enough
Hmm.
for the higher ups to think, okay, well, maybe we should be looking into this because it's going to help our people
Yeah.
and the community, and for whatever else. So there's power in both ways, and it's awesome to see it when it all comes together.
It is. It is. And it's easier to say no to one or two, but it sure is hard to say no to 100, you know?
Right. Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. It's I'm just gonna say this really quick, and I'm gonna keep this in there, but I feel like we never left from when I was there, because we just jumped right back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
It's so fun.
it's an excellent conversation, and continuing from here, because there was a part that we didn't get in the beginning, when we did this back in February, and of course, as long as you feel comfortable sharing, but a call that sticks with you.
Yeah. That's an easy one. The call that sticks with me was a Valley View call of rival motorcycle gangs. Hells Angels and Mongols, I believe, was the name of the gangs. And one of the gangs walked up to another rival gang member and shot him in the head. We got that call as a alarm drop, a panic button from the gas station itself. And then the second call, which is only two calls on it, The second call I took, I was a brand new supervisor. I was on night shift, and the woman that I spoke to was obviously in shock. And we got a little bit of information that one guy had shot the other guy, trying to get a description. And then that was the end of the call. I don't remember if she hung up or if she just went silent. And I was trying to keep her away from it because it was active. I mean, it was actively evolving. So I was trying to keep her in her car. And the reason that that call sticks with me is the strangest. I'm sure that there's some kind of science or psychology behind it. Is because I ended up winning an award for that call. And I believe it was a double gold for teamwork. And while the teamwork was symphony orchestra, chef's kiss, the teamwork was incredible. And I am so, so grateful that I worked with that team when I did, because they are all incredibly talented people. But the reason that that call sticks with me is because I don't think that I did a good job. And I ended up getting an award for it. And that call, I was sending my friend that's sitting next to me's brother into that active scene. I was sending a person's husband into that scene. At the time, a guy that I was dating also going to that scene. And like all of these, not that they're not all crucial, instrumental, important people to us, but these are people that are personally connected to the people that I'm sitting around. And to think that I did a shitty job in protecting the people that are actually connected to my humans in that room, like what a letdown. Like what a letdown for your supervisor and your friend to have gotten this much information when this much information could have been pried out. I just felt like I fumbled. And people around me don't think that. I wouldn't have been able to get an award for it if it wasn't good. But that's the call that sticks with me, is because I don't feel like I did what I should have or been able to do, or what I know my level of call taking can be. And I don't feel like it was that. So that's the call that sticks with me. People see the award on the wall and go, wow, this is so cool. I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. And people still bring it up to this day because it ended up being such a cool call, and not cool in the fact that obviously somebody lost their life, but cool from the dispatch side of it. There were so many scenes evolving, and there were so many specialty teams being deployed. There ended up being more confrontation at the hospital once one gang found out that the other gang member had passed away. So there ended up being another confrontation, and working with the hospital police departments, dispatchers, and getting tows out there, and getting crime scene out there, and BCI out there. And that was the first time in this center that they had seen something that big and what regional can really, really do. Regional police response, regional fire response, regional dispatching. But that's the call that sticks with me. I know that sounds silly that it would be something, but I crucify myself for that call, and I hate that I do that. But I do, because I feel like I could have done so much better. I feel like I let people around me down. And I'm the only one that thinks that. Nobody else thinks that. But yeah, that's the call that sticks with me for sure.
I think that first off, thank you for sharing that. And I can't imagine working something like that. We used to get teletypes about certain gangs and such that would be coming through, just to be careful or whatever.
Yeah.
And that there was going to be extra patrol and whatnot. And of course, I've watched episodes of what's it called, Gangland, where they talk about all these groups and stuff, and it's like, dang, I wonder. And you and your crew and everyone worked it. But I feel like we are all in any profession, all of us in different ways, we are our own worst critic.
For sure.
And we beat ourselves up. That's why, like, when there would be times when I had to write someone up for a call or the way they handled it or whatever, and I would take them in to talk about it, which wasn't a lot. It was just like, I would say, a handful of the time when I was a supervisor. I would straight up tell them right off the bat, look, there's nothing more that I can tell you that will make you feel worse than you are already feeling,
Hmm.
because I can feel your energy and you have been beating yourself up over this. So let's just talk about it and see where any improvements need to be made.
Hmm.
And we'll just go on from there, because I'm not going to shit on you because you're already destroying yourself. And sometimes that's worse than anything anybody else could say. Yeah, it adds more, right? It's
Yeah.
insult to injury, but you're already beating yourself up. And the way you're talking right now, I mean, it sounds like this happened years ago, but still to this day,
Hmm.
it bothers you.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I say that to people, just like you said, when I have to have somebody in my office and I have to, discipline or um, talk to you about it, is I say the same thing. If you're not beating yourself up about it, then you don't care. Like the more you care is the more you beat yourself up. And
Hmm.
like there's nothing that I could do that's going to be stronger or bigger or more profound than what you're already doing to yourself. So look at it as it means that much to you, and that's why you're so bothered by it. And I actually find that to be a really great thing in an employee. Is I don't want them to do that to themselves, obviously, and I want them to be able to process that and get it out and talk as many times as they need to talk about it. But if it doesn't mean anything to you, then you're not going to care how you did or what the outcome was. So I actually find that a really appealing part of an employee or a dispatcher in general.
Yeah, because we definitely need to have people that care in every aspect of it. And I've told people when in my communications class and everything, a lot of times those who aren't talking about certain things or who are the most silent, sometimes they're the ones who need the most help. But
Absolutely.
also at the same time, if you feel that you've become that jaded where you really just don't care anymore and you're just collecting a paycheck. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know people need to get paid, but it might be time for you to switch it
Yeah.
up a little bit,
Yeah.
because you don't want someone to end up dying, whether it be over the phone or out in the field, because you're just not caring.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes into it, but on the flip side, one of the things I want to know, and you can choose one or the other, or you can do both, but what is something that has been rewarding to you in the profession, or something that you're proud of?
I am super proud of recruiting and watching that recruit get out of training and being successful on the floor. I think that is just like, ah.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
It's been a long time. It's been a long time since I have been able to be part of the very beginning all the way to the end and actually get to watch it. But it recently happened. I was at a function. I recruited a girl that was not looking for a job. She was with her wife looking for a job. And I convinced her to apply. She applied. She went to our academy. She is now out of training and she is a shiny star. She is absolutely a heart built for this profession. And it means the world to her. And she takes such pride in it. And to see her and to see her succeeding basically daily is like the most rewarding thing that I mean, there's nothing better than that. There's absolutely nothing better than that. Um,
I love it.
yeah, and my watching my own team grow. There was a girl that I came with when I came over to the regional center. watching her grow into a supervisor and then grow into a trainer and then a training coordinator, and her success. And I can see myself in her, and the supervisors that have come up that I can see. I don't know the words for it. I can see my work, in them, and that makes it worth it. That makes it totally worth it. That's the reward.
Hell yes. Oh, I love that. This alone, just this little bit that we've gotten on here to come back and finish the rest of this episode has been amazing. And like I told you back then, I will tell you again now that I could talk to you for hours. But
Yeah.
I know that you have a schedule to keep because you've got stuff going on as well. But to go into the wrap up of this, again, thank you for everything that you do in this profession, and just your perspective on everything is just amazing. So thank you again for that. And the last question that I have for you is, for all of the years that you've been in public safety, if you could go back in time, and of course this isn't to change anything because we all go through, a bunch of whether it be hard lessons, or whichever things that we experience that bring us to the person that we are today. But if you could go back in time to talk to yourself in the beginning of your dispatch career, what would you say to yourself?
The first thing that sticks out right away, and I touched on a little bit earlier, was advice that I got from somebody that was in government, and his advice to me was never stop banging your head against the wall, and even when you're figuratively bloody and concussioned and beat up and you can't breathe, and just keep banging your head against the wall, and that was really, really profound advice, and coming from somebody that I love and respect so much, that was the one piece of advice that he gave me, because I want to change so much. And very early in my career, when I would get an idea or I would get inspired, or when I would want to implement something or I would want to change something, it seemed like I was squashed at every level, even my own peers. Like, that's stupid. Why are you doing that? That's dumb. Like, stop it. And getting that advice further in my career, and in the last few years, even, I wished I could tell 20-something-year-old Karla that don't get discouraged and just keep banging your head against the wall. And your ideas are gonna provide for you later, and the season and the texture on who you are as a dispatcher is actually going to be what serves you in your career, because 20-year-old Karla didn't stop banging your head against the wall, but damn, it was sure discouraging a lot of times, and I can't say that my flame didn't go out a lot over the years, and that I lost motivation, but it was people along my path, people like you, and people like my bosses, and people that are just training, and seeing that re-inspires you and re-motivates you. So my advice would be to just don't stop banging your head against the wall.
Perfect. Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much for coming back on so that we could finish this and get the entire episode out there. This has been so much fun, and we're definitely going to have to do this again. For those who are watching and listening, we've got the public safety showcase coming on, and you're hearing first, Karla will be one of the speakers. So, oh yeah. Yes, very, very excited. I will be right back here with you in just one moment. And for those who are watching and listening, if you have any comments, questions, anything, you can simply go to links, and that's links with 2eyes.co/IAM911. Again, that is links with 2eyes.co/IAM911, and you will find everything there. email, social media, where to hear the latest episode of Within the Trenches podcast, as well as the latest episode of the Imagine Listening podcast. And that one is going very well. People have been downloading it like crazy already, so make sure to check it out. And you can also find a link on there to join the Trenches community, a free community for 911 professionals that you can go to. And there are a bunch of people that are joining daily. There are over 200 free continuing education hours there for you to check out. It's Dare to Be Great 1 all the way through 6. There are 44 rounds of the Dispatchers Roundtable. I'm doing a Monday morning coffee chat for about 30 minutes at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Had a lot of people on there. I'm doing a Wednesday check-in, same time, 9 a.m. Eastern. And this is all going on within that community. And the Public Safety Showcase is exclusive to all of these amazing speakers are going to be going there, and I'm going to be doing this every other month for the Public Safety Showcase to have 4 to 5 speakers talking on all different types of topics. So make sure to check that out. And this can be seen on Facebook, YouTube, as well as X and LinkedIn Live. And there's clips all over Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, as well as TikTok. This episode has been sponsored by InDigital, a leader next-gen core services. Thank you to subscribers of the podcast. And then you can listen 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone, and we will see you all in the next one. Imagine listening to someone's worst day every single day. Imagine listening as someone experiences life through their worst nightmare to the miracle of birth or a life saved. I'm Ricardo Martinez, a former 911 dispatcher, and for years, I've been recording the voices of a hidden world, ours. I've provided a space for 911 dispatchers to share their powerful stories. It started as a peer support session and continues. Dispatchers sitting together, sharing out loud, or writing down what they couldn't say. Some stories will grip you. Stories of heartbreak, resilience, and calls that haunt us long after the line goes quiet. But Imagine Listening is more than heavy emotion. It's about healing. It's about laughing through the chaos, lifting each other up, and reminding the world that dispatchers are human too. The lighthearted will balance the heavy. Experience the power of storytelling, a podcast for the thin gold line and those who want to understand it. This is Imagine Listening. Your worst day is our everyday. Subscribe now wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.